Another really cool way to design 3D shapes is with virtual and augmented reality. And we have a number of VR and AR systems at the shop, including the Oculus Rift. Oculus has a great app called Medium, and Medium allows you to create things with the wireless handheld controllers. So you wear the goggles, you hold the handheld controllers, and you can create things out of 3D. I'm sorry, this is a creepy little spider, but you can see there are some mirroring features where you just have to create one half and it automatically creates the other. Really fun. I'd be glad if someone wants to use this during Startup Weekend. There's also a way to create 3D shapes or 3D files by scanning them with your smartphone. So we do have a Knockout Concepts 3D scanner, Knockout Concepts being Franklin's first tech startup. There are some great folks who have designed a 3D scanner. But if you have a smartphone, your smartphone also serves, or a digital camera, as a 3D scanner. So this person has a great video. He took his shoe off. I wish there were something a little more appealing, but if you take about 20 photos at a regular spacing and a regular height, and then take another 20 or so photos at about the same spacing but a different height, and then upload those 40 or so photos to the web, there's an app that will then allow you to download a 3D solid model from that shape. So either scan something like this that is an existing object, or create something out of wax or clay or Play-Doh that you can then 3D scan and then scale and stretch or add to. Or let's say you want to make a wearable device for your wrist. Maybe you want to scan your forearm, scan your wrist, so that you know exactly how to snap a custom fit wearable to your arm. So here this person's now taking those images out, putting them on their computer, uploading to the web, and the web, this app, 123D Catch, will then take all of those photos and turn it into a 3D shape. It will also superimpose the photographs onto that 3D structure, so-called texture mapping, which will actually make the 3D solid object look like it's a little bit higher resolution than it really is. But we can see that there is actually a 3D mesh. Let me see if I can find it. You can see the elements of the mesh in the sneaker. There you go. And since it's digital, you can also color it, you can stretch and scale it, and then you can either 3D print it, or you can slice it into discs that can be cut by laser. Really quick and convenient. So everyone's smartphone is a 3D scanner now. Now we'll talk about how you can take a 3D shape and you can section it into discs or sections that can then be cut with a laser and then stacked together. So 123D Make is a great app. It's also free. So if you have a 3D shape, for example this head and neck right here, and you tell the software how thick your material is, maybe you're using 1/4-inch plywood or 1/8-inch acrylic plastic, then the software will automatically take your 3D shape and section it into all of those pieces. It will then take those individual 2D cross sections and stack them in these layers. If you've ever used Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or things like that, where you can make different layers, this does the same thing. So, and it will then etch the number of that layer into that little disc or into that cross section. So when you're done, you have a whole stack, a whole collection of these things that you just stack together. And here you can tell the software, maybe my laser cutter can cut 12 inches by 24 inches. Maybe that's the size of your pieces of plywood. So it will automatically, what's called nest, these cross-section 2D shapes into your 12-inch by 24-inch layer, so that each sheet of plywood you put in the laser cutter will cut these discs. Then you take them out, you put another sheet of plywood in, it'll cut these discs here, and repeat. So this is telling you it'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sheets of, say, 12-inch by 24-inch plywood. So you need 9 sheets. Maybe each of these takes 5 minutes to cut, so that's probably 45 minutes of cut time. And then it's going to give you 45 slices or 45 parts that you stack together. Really convenient stuff. And if you use a thinner material, of course, it'll be a higher resolution. It'll capture more of the detail of your 3D shape, but it'll take more time, take more material. And here it can even visualize what your part will look like if you make it out of plywood or acrylic or things like that. And if you want to make something a little bit faster, maybe you don't want a fully dense object where every spot has a cross-sected disc, maybe you make these ribs, and this is another option in 123D Make, where you specify the distance or the grid spacing of these ribs. And this might be a great way if you wanted to wrap this with paper mache or with cotton or with fiberglass or even carbon fiber composite or even thin metal. Then you can make an armature like this. This is called a buck if you're then going to use it as a model for wrapping metal around. Equally, if you wanted to take something, let's say you scan your head, and your head is about 12 inches high, but you want to make a 4 foot by 4 foot bust of yourself out of plywood or foam, maybe you scale up your head and then make cut sheets out, maybe on our CNC computer-controlled router table that can cut sheets of foam or plywood up to 4 feet by 8 feet, and make a giant model of yourself. You can also change the angle that those slices are made at and get some really interesting effects like this. And there are different ways you can stack the materials too. You can make these kind of key slotted sections that easily stack different sections into it. So it becomes actually something of a complicated 3D puzzle. It's a lot of fun. If you wanted to make really interesting contoured components too, you can do the same thing here. Take your 3D shape, throw it through 123D Make. It will then section it into those ribs, and then you can cut those out and assemble them into your structure. Here we have an example of Thingiverse's website. Thingiverse, again, being a repository of legally downloadable 3D solid models. So like I said before, maybe there isn't the need to completely design from whole cloth some of the things that you'd like to develop. A wristband for wearable tech, a pair of goggles, an enclosure for an Arduino or Raspberry Pi electronics device, etc. So check out Thingiverse, lots of fun. And here's an outline of the full How to Make Nearly Anything seminar we give at the Foundry. This is about a 6-hour talk. We just went over these areas here: 2D design, scanning to vector, 3D design, 3D scanning, slicing, how a laser cutter works, how 3D printing works. And then next section we're going to talk a little bit about electronics right here.